Hello, welcome to the Creation Speaks podcast. I'm glad that you could join me today. Looking at the question, how do I find peace? Have you ever asked yourself that question? How do you find peace? Well, I've also thought about this is how I find peace, and that's what I hope to answer for you today is how I find peace. Because there are many things that come into our lives that cause us not to feel peace. Peace is not something that seems natural to me. I get anxious easily. I can worry easily. And I think that's probably the story of many of you out there is dealing with anxiety and worry, kind of anything opposite of peace. Now, I want to start by saying peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is something that you can experience in the midst of problems. The scriptures tell us to cast your cares on the Lord and that the peace of God will rule your heart. Our tendency is to worry. Having the peace of God is not, as I mentioned, the absence of those problems. And I think that's key because when we have problems, we can begin to question, what am I doing wrong? Have I done something wrong? Or am I not in the right on the right path, or whatever it might be? We begin to question ourselves when difficulties continue to hit us like waves on the beach, washing up one after another after another. So peace is not seeing your problems resolved. Yes, we want our problems resolved. We want those weights to be lifted and see the the answer to our prayers, those things that we may be praying. But that is not where we find peace, but rather trusting Him, that He is able to work out that issue, that He has a purpose and He's good. Remembering that God is good. And so in those moments, if you look at the book of Psalms, beautiful book, and there in that book, you will discover not writers who have it all together, not writers who have seen the answers to prayers, but you find writers who are bearing their heart to God. In the midst of their difficulties and troubles, they're crying out to God and bearing their heart to the Lord. And the psalmist says in Psalm 73, "It is good for me to draw near to God. I have put my trust in the Lord that I may declare all your works." Again, here is a guy who doesn't have answers to his prayers, but he knows the importance of drawing near to God and putting his trust in Him. Yes, we don't have to have the answers to our troubles. Yet, at the same time, is in those difficulties, if your eyes are fixated on the problem, you're not going to find peace. If your eyes are fixated on a problem, it's only going to grow more and more. So, in those troubling moments, draw near to God. Cast your cares on Him. How do you do that? Is you just share your heart with God. Yes, you might shed some tears, but knowing that you can draw near to Him, that you can cast your cares on Him, and knowing that He will lead you. He's going to provide. He's going to take care of your needs. He hears your prayer. In Psalm 34, it says, "I sought the Lord, and He heard me, and delivered me from all my fears." Notice he sought the Lord. He trusted God before the deliverance. But the psalmist here is testifying, a testimony to you and I, that God heard his prayer and did deliver him from all his fears. And just one note about fears. There are things in our future that cause anxiety and fear in our lives Now, a lot of the fears really are unfounded. There's no basis to why we are so fearful about it. And, usually once you get past those things that we are fearing, we're like, well, that wasn't so bad after all. So I guess the word today is if you want to have peace, you need to learn to go and draw near to God. Cast your cares on Him. And it doesn't mean that you're going to walk away from that moment with answers, but share your heart with God and trust Him. Leave them with Him. And you know what? Over time, you'll start to see, God does care for me. He is going to come through, and just spending time in the Word and in prayer and knowing God is good and He cares for you. I hope something I said helps and encourages you. And I hope you have a great day. And I am out of here.
Well, thank you again for tuning in to this episode on Creation Speaks podcast. If you want more podcasts and devotions, head on over to our website, creationspeaks.com. And there I do a lot of writing. I post audio and video. And then I also do some of my woodworking. So a great way to support this is I do handmade wooden pens, coffee scoops, and other items. And, just I enjoy making things, sharing. And I hope through it all that you might find in some encouragement and know that you're created in the image of God. As a believer, you've been redeemed and God started to work in you. And I hope together we can grow together. Again, thanks again and talk to you next time.